Game Crunch, your weekly video game podcast. My name is Mike Anastasia. With me today, we got Brandon.
Hello.
And we were talking about games and things.
Games and things.
Well, let's see. Well, I think the only super new thing on here is Mario and Luigi Brothership. We'll talk
Yeah,
about that.
maybe.
We got some other games, some news. So that's the agenda.
Yeah.
Ready to get into it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's start out first because I have the newest of the new things. Mario and
Or
Luigi
do
Brothership.
you?
I think so.
We'll see.
Okay. We'll see. Mario and Luigi Brothership. So it came out on, I don't know, Thursday or Friday, whenever. So not even out a week yet. So it is, if you've been following along with Nintendo Directs, the newest Mario RPG in 1 year. So we have a new Mario and Luigi game. So basically it's kind of turn-based RPG. You have both the Mario brothers as your main characters, and they go through kind of like a crazy story. So I've gotten about 10 plus hours into this so far. So I have a bit to say about it.
Okay.
So first things first, game, I still very much love the art style of this game. So
I think it looks good.
Yeah, I think it looks great. Like, especially compared to what the art style was in like the past games. Like, I think it holds up really well with this transition to the Switch. Like, I like it's immediately recognizable what series it is. Just from Mario and Luigi and like the character designs, like I think they all kind of hold that kind of familiar look that the series has. Game still plays very similarly with each of the bros having kind of corresponding buttons for their attacks. So like Mario's the A button, Luigi's the B button. For jumps, for hammers, it's X and Y. Like it still kind of holds up very similarly there. You still have bros attacks, which is where they, kind of like special attacks with shared between, the Mario and Luigi, where they get, kind of powerful attacks there. I would say, at least kind of from my experience, there was some complaints, from the IGN review about
IGN's on a tear of god awful reviews lately.
Oh really?
Oh yeah.
I would
they
say
gave Dragon Age Veilguard a 9, and now they've slowly had to pull themselves back and be like, here's the reason why the game is actually deviated so far from the originals that it's unrecognizable. Like basically saying, yeah, we recognize it's bad without saying we recognize it's bad, because they'll get in trouble with their friends if they do that. And then they gave the Penguin, the TV show, a fucking 5, and I want to slit their throats because they're fucking insane. It is one of the best shows I've watched all year, and one of the best shows that I have seen that involves the mafia since the fucking Sopranos. They are insane for giving the Penguin a 5. Like, legitimately, there is no way they had their eyes open watching that show if they gave it a 5. There's literally no fucking way they had their eyes even open while watching that. They had to be deaf, dumb, and blind to have given that show a 5.
Yeah, I heard that show's pretty great from other places too.
It's fucking incredible.
Yeah, and I would say too, at least kind of from what I have played of this game thus far, definitely not a 5. Kind of like I said last week, like I had some fundamental problems with the review score, because to me, like I understand, kind of with like their wording, but a 5, I think, in any of media, implies something's like really not working well, like fundamentally broken. That's kind of it's more bad than good. And I disagree with that completely. That is not my experience with this game so far in 10 hours in. I mean, I've seen maybe like a frame stutter here and there. Generally kind of with like loading times. Like when you have like a very obvious like loading transition, like yeah, it might stutter like a few frames like as it's coming in, but then it smooths right out. I have read, to be fair, I've read that there's more issues at an area later in the game. I have not encountered this area yet, so I cannot speak to it at this moment. So maybe my opinion may change, down the road. But I would say, at least, from what I've seen, where it matters in the battles, runs crystal smooth, like no issues there.
That's great. I mean, they might be doing something similar to what Final Fantasy did. Final Fantasy 16 on PS5. So on PS5, they turned on like this dynamic resolution scaling whenever you're actually doing a battle. Like the second you initiate combat in the open world in Final Fantasy 16, it turns on dynamic resolution scaling, which scales the resolution down and then like just upreses it basically or whatever, like through checkerboarding on the original and probably through PSSR on the new Pro model. But essentially it would make it so the combat constantly runs at 60 FPS, but everything outside the combat does not. So they might be doing a similar thing because you can do dynamic resolution scaling with anything basically. So
Okay. Yeah, it's very possible. But yeah, definitely it runs well in battles, at least as far as I've seen. And from what I've read online too, like people say the frame rate issues are really centralized around a specific area and not battles. So that would be my experience with it as well. Um, battles are a lot of fun. I do find myself kind of like, it's just I guess maybe like any RPG, you have moments where you're like, I really want to battle something, and you're like, yeah. And then there's moments where you're like, okay, let's stop with the generic enemies. There's too much of them now. Like, let's kind of pull it back. But yeah, the battles I think are really fun. I think they play really well. One thing that's kind of like very minor, at least for me, like there is some sort of like disconnect with me with they must have made like a subtle like change to the controls because I keep on trying to control everything with A and B, but that is not always the case. Like in the menus, like B is definitely your back button. But I feel like in some of the old games, if you were playing as Luigi, you could use B as a confirm as well. Doesn't seem to be the case here. You have to kind of initiate with A and then kind of just mentally be like, okay, my first button's not going to be A, it's going to be B because I'm using Luigi. But that's kind of that aspect. They've added some new things too, which I think are kind of fun. They added like these, I don't know what to call them, battle plugs, I think is what they refer to them to. Kind of like these like things that you can use to augment your battle skills. They're limited use, so like you can do like auto mushroom, for example. And if you plug that in, if you're running low on health, it will automatically use a mushroom without wasting a turn. So you can use something like that to kind of be like, okay, well now I don't have to worry about healing right now, so that that will save me some things. But they're limited use. Like the mushroom, I think only uses 5 things, and then it's got to recharge. You can change them during the course of the battle. So if the mushroom, say for example, runs out, you can swap in something different. Some things are kind of more like that, where like auto use items. Some things are more battle based, where it's like if you get like an excellent on like an attack command, it will drop spiky ball on an enemy. Or you can get it. Another one is one where it like gives you kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Easier chances to dodge attacks. Like maybe you'll jump a little longer, or you will be able to hold the hammer a little longer or something like that without it kind of failing. So gives you some options like that, which I think are pretty cool. Kind of mixes up the battles. It just still does have a similar equipment system to the previous games, where you have I think it's really your shoes, which affect your jump powers, your hammer, which affects obviously your hammer skills, and then kind of like your overalls, which are kind of like your just general defense. And then you can have 2 accessories in there as well. One is a gloves and one's a treasure chest, and those can have various effects depending on what they are. Like it might be like, oh, an extra. I think one I have, for example, is like an extra 50% damage on your first attack of a round, for example. So things like that. So it gives a nice variety there. One thing that I think that the game does lack, the story, while it is enjoyable, is not terribly deep, at least so far. Like there's no kind of like necessity to kind of like drive the story forward, as strange as that sounds. It's kind of like the premise of it is you start off in the Mushroom Kingdom. Mario and Luigi get sucked into this other kingdom or whatever. It was this kind of a continent or whatever that had been broken up into separate little islands, and you're trying to kind of restore them back into one unified landmass or whatever. But part of me is kind of like, where's the urgency? Like, it doesn't really seem like there are bad guys. It doesn't really seem like they're doing bad guy things, aside from being like, we broke up this continent. Okay, what else are you doing? Like, do I need to go and do more things? There's some other subplots with there too, but I'm just still kind of like, eh, like it's not like Smithy's kind of Destroy the Mushroom Kingdom, or the what was it, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, where like the bean not the bean people, the Cactella, whatever her name was, kidnap Peach or whatever. You don't have any of that kind of stuff. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's kind of broke up and you're here now, so I guess we'll fix it. Like that's kind of the premise of the story. It's fine. Um, and like I said, it just doesn't really kind of like, you're like, oh no, I'm not rushing to save the universe kind of thing. The other thing that it kind of I would say it doesn't really kind of win like stellar remarks on, but not necessarily bad. Music. Music's fun. It's fitting. But it kind of feels like, I don't know how to describe it other than like generic Mario Party music sometimes. Like it's fun, but it's not anything that's like not getting stuck in my head, not particularly memorable, not bad, but just
Okay.
not anything that really kind of like, oh yeah, this is really kind of like, this is a song I'll listen to on repeat over and over again. Not heard anything like that. Let's say not any bad music, but just not particularly memorable. Um, but otherwise, game's a lot of fun. I am really enjoying it. I did kind of find that I was just kind of like sucked into playing hours of it this weekend, and it wasn't
Hmm.
necessarily my intention. And I guess I really didn't know what to expect from it, but I have been really enjoying it. So it seems
Hmm.
to at least seems to do what it's supposed to do very well. So I've been very happy with it so far. Definitely will be updates. Apparently, the game is supposed to be about 40 hours long.
Oh wow.
Um, by my guess, I am probably actually about a quarter of the way through. Um, so as I said, about 10 hours in. There are some, like, at least as far as I know, kind of set boss battles that kind of appear periodically. I know I've done kind of like one of what I would consider one of the bigger boss battles. I've done a couple boss battles so far, but one definitely was kind of more um, kind of the end of a section boss battle. It's probably the best way to put it. So um, that was a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Difficulty seems to be there, I would say. Definitely does not seem like it's a walk in the park. I definitely have had some very close calls so far and kind of just barely scrape by. So definitely can get you, on the edge of your seat. Um, but overall, I would say very enjoyable. Like I said, very happy with it so far. I think this is one of the better Mario and Luigi games so far. I've
Hmm.
definitely enjoyed it more than the last two new entries, which were Paper Jam, I believe, and Dream Team. I think those were the
Okay.
last two off my top of my head, which were the two 3DS ones. There may have been another 3DS one. Well, another new 3DS one. I can't remember because there's what, five or six of them. Because you had Superstar Saga, Partners in Time, Bowser's Inside Story. Those, at least Bowser's Inside Story and Superstar Saga, are still like top tier. Um, then there was Dream Team and Paper Jam. I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say definitely this one's definitely a good return to form. Like I said, very happy with it. Plays very well. Really does a good job of bringing it into kind of more the modern era of gaming. Um, yeah, and that's really the big thing of what I've been playing. Do you have any questions on it? Anything to answer?
Nope, not really. This one's not really super for me right now. I'm gonna
Mhm.
wait, maybe pick it up on at another time, but it's not really one I've been super interested in. But I also
Yeah.
know it's not a fucking five.
Yes, I agree. Definitely not a five. I mean, I don't know what I would rate it like number wise yet.
Let's be
Um,
honest, you got to give it that 7 out of 10. Too much water, maybe, something like that.
There's a lot of water in
Similar.
this game, but not anything that really slows you down. There is actually, speaking of, there is one kind of like weird kind of pacing thing, which I've not quite decided where I am on the fence with it yet. So it does have kind of like a ship mechanic where you have like an ocean map and you can sail around and you kind of direct the ship. But like it will come up to be like, it'll be like you'll get a message on the screen like you're approaching this island, but it's not like you tell the ship to like sail to it and
Hmm.
just kind of stay there. It kind of will just like go in circles until you decide to do something. It kind of will go into like a holding pattern. So let's say you miss the island and you go to where the cannon is. You kind of have to wait for the ship to circle it back around. It does
Okay.
give you the option to make it like sail faster, uh, but just still kind of like a strange thing. Um, so there's that, and definitely some good side quests with it. But I agree. I definitely don't feel like this is a game that I was like, oh man, I really need to play this. This definitely falls into the category of, well, I knew I was gonna buy it, and I figured I would like it, but I'm enjoying it more than I expected it to. So
Hmm.
that's kind of more where I sit on it currently. So, but yeah, it is good so far. So I
Okay.
definitely been enjoying it. Yeah. I've been playing Shadows of the Dam too, but I'm not going to give an update on it yet this week. I'll wait until I get further in it. Because I don't think I did terribly much since the last time, so I don't have a ton to add on it. Yeah, that's really been kind of what I've been playing. So,
Okay.
and yeah,
I
that's
got
it.
stuff to talk about then. I'll go
Yeah,
ahead and go with mine.
yeah. Let's talk about your things.
Okay, so I'll just run down. Restarted Vampire Survivors on the Xbox. It just felt like it, honestly.
Okay.
It was just so like I've played all of Vampire Survivors through on the PC. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't finished it 100%, but I started it on Xbox because I I was updating my PC and I was like, I just want to play Vampire Survivors and it's on Game Pass, so I just bought the DLC because it's fucking pennies on the dollar. It's like I think $10 for every single DLC, if not less.
Okay. Reasonable.
And I think that includes the game as well. So whatever, it doesn't matter. But anyway, I got the two that I wanted the most, which were Castlevania and Contra on
Mm-hmm.
Xbox. So I got those two DLCs, and I was playing through the opening of the game and then playing through the DLCs as well. And I had a lot of fun. I've put a shit ton of hours on it into it on Xbox now as well.
Nice.
It's just been a continuously really fun game to go back to and just fucking chill out
Mm-hmm.
when not doing anything else. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just wanted to share that I got so re-addicted to Vampire Survivors that I'm playing it on two consoles now.
Hey, it's a great game. So cannot complain about that.
Hmm. I also played COD Zombies, Call of Duty Zombies from Black Ops 6, which is pretty much the main reason I've been playing Black Ops 6. They had like a double XP and weapon XP and everything XP weekend. So I played Call of Duty Zombies and I also played multiplayer. I got 2,000 kills with sniper rifles to unlock the ultimate like fucking medal and calling card and all of that stuff for being a pro with sniper rifles. Really fun to do that. It took me like 6 hours, but it was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think honestly 6 hours is not that long for getting 2,000 kills with sniper rifles, but whatever.
It
Um,
does seem fast, but yeah.
it was fun. It was really fun. But I also did both of the zombies maps, finished the Easter eggs, 100% of them, did the whole thing, completed it before they release a new mode, which is coming out in a week or so, I believe. So there's a new mode coming out, which will be called the Director mode, where for people that aren't so good at zombies or can't figure out all of the Easter eggs because they're kind of obtuse and really difficult to learn and understand how to do them, it'll do like a little walkthrough where it gives you like little hints and guides and stuff if people want to play in that mode. And anyone that finishes both of the zombies maps before then gets special items unlocked and like stuff like that. So I went ahead and finished both of them the same day, and that was a fucking blast. I finished one of them with my friend GP, and then one of them with three other people as well as two other people as well as GP. And I mean, they were both really fun and really hectic. By the end of the Terminus Easter egg, we had like a literal Cthulhu fighting us on like a platform where we had to like duck behind like debris and shit and
Mm-hmm.
hide in order to not like be destroyed by its like blast. And it felt like you were playing like an MMO where you had to like be like, all right, I'm gonna use this item now. Okay, duck behind there. All right, I'm going out. Okay, I'm firing. 3, 2, 1, go. And then like that sort of thing. It felt like I was literally playing like a raid boss, and it was really really fun to do. So there's that. Um, Also, Silent Hill 2, more of that with Katie. It's been an absolute blast playing this remake. It is so good. It's just so good. That is really all there is to it. I got to the part with Katie where you and Maria end up in the hotel room after like making it through the main like apartment complex and then going into the hospital, and that was cool. That was cool. There's a little nod there before we got to God, I can't remember what it's called. It's like Heaven something. But anyway, it's a bar and a strip club. But there's a little thing that happens before then where Maria actually pulls out her original costume. She's like, "Could you imagine me wearing something like this?" And I was like, "Son of a bitch, come
That's funny.
on." But yeah, just like kind of like poking fun at it. But I think a lot of this game really does translate very well one to one with the original, and the stuff that's added is really good. So
Mhm.
I'm very happy with Silent Hill 2.
That's great.
I did start one other game yesterday, which I would like to talk about. I've been playing the Pokemon trading card game on on cell phones.
Oh yeah.
The new one. I don't know what it's called exactly. It's TCG Pocket, I think. Let me see. Is
Sounds about
that what it
right.
is? Pokemon TCG Pocket? Yeah, Pokemon TCG Pocket is what I've been playing. Uh I was not expecting to play much of this, and I have been playing a ton of it. Like I started yesterday. I have 131 cards, and I'm level 9 already. And I've not spent any money. I have not spent any money. Let me add that right there, right there.
That's
Not
good.
spent a dime on this game. But it's been really fun. Everything from like the pack opening to actually playing the trading card game, because you can do that as well. Against AI, they have like little events going on. Like right now, there's a Lapras deck AI that's been built, and you play against it, and if you defeat it, you have a chance of getting a promo card deck that you can then, I mean, promo card pack that you can then open up, which gives you a chance at any of their like main cards that they used in their deck. And it's kind of cool. I kind of really dig this. It's very fun. It reminds me a lot of like the Game Boy Pokemon game with the trading cards, except it's much more like it has less personality because you're not actually talking with the players, but also more because you can play against real players as well. So like I've also done that. I've built decks and I've played against real players in the online versus mode, and it's kind of awesome. Like I've really been enjoying my time with this game. It is very fun. I
Cool.
highly recommend checking it out if you like Pokemon cards.
I've heard
Every,
very good things about it so far.
yeah, every day you're given 2 free packs. Every 12 hours you can unlock a pack.
Hmm.
However, when you do like things like level up or complete a certain set of Pokemon cards or a certain deck or defeat a certain amount of AI or what have you, you also are given this like currency, and the currency you can then cash in. And if you get 12 of it, it takes away the 12-hour thing, and you can just fucking go ham immediately and just open up a pack right then and there.
Okay.
It's really cool. And there's like 3 packs that I know of right now. There's a Mewtwo genetic pack. There's a Pikachu uh, genetic pack, and there's a Charizard genetic pack. I think that's what all of them are. And the 3 main cards are the Pikachu, the Mewtwo, and the Charizard, obviously. But each one of them also has like sub cards and everything, and there's like different versions of those 3 main cards. Like you can get like a full art, or like I don't know. I haven't found a rainbow yet, but maybe you can. I don't know.
Hmm.
But you can get like full art cards also. So I have like a full art Pikachu, a normal Pikachu, EX Pikachu from that pack, and I have like an EX Mewtwo from the pack and an EX Charizard from the pack. Um, yeah, it's very fun. And there's also this thing that's called Wonder Pack, where it takes like, oh, I can actually open one right now. It takes like it gives you 5 choices, then it shuffles up the cards, and then you just randomly pick a card, and then it gives you whatever is behind that card. So like for instance, I just went to my Wonder Pack and I had the option of getting one currency that allows me to bring down the timer of the Wonder Pack 4 times, or a Chansey card, I think is what it was. Yeah, or shop tickets. You can cash all these things in for different things. So like shop tickets, you can cash in for like different play mats when you're playing online, or different card sleeves when you're playing online, or individual cards that you can purchase for like 2 points. And if you want to like build out your deck, like I believe they have like the Professor Oak card there, where you can purchase that, which is a card that allows you to draw 2 cards, which is good for any deck basically. But also, your friends open up cards, and based on the cards that your friends are opening up or people around you are opening up, there will be like these options that you see in the Wonder Pack where you can see what other people have like been pulling recently. And if there's like a card that you want that you don't have for like your deck or whatever, or if you want to like complete a set, like for instance, here's someone named Beef that is up for another hour and 55 minutes. In their Wonder Pack, I see that they pulled a full art Lapras. It costs 3 Wonder Pack points to actually do this. I don't have that many points right now. I don't think I can make that many points. I'm gonna check. I don't have enough. Yeah, I don't have enough points. Anyway, yeah, if I had enough stamina, I could go and have a chance at pulling their Lapras. It's not their actual card. Like I don't take it from them, but it's like it gives me a copy of like the card that they pulled earlier or that they saw earlier, what have you. So I'm able to get a card that way. So you want to check repeatedly for the Wonder Packs that appear and see if anyone has either seen or pulled something recently that will help you out, and then it'll tell you how many points you need to spend to actually have a chance at pulling that, and then it'll give you an option of like flipping over the 5 cards, and then you pick one of them at random, and it might be the one you need, or it might be any of the other 4 that was in the list. And it's cool. It's a lot of chance. It's a lot of like literal gambling if you were to spend money on this, but I like it. I think it's really well done. Like as far as like one of these time waster games, and I think the way that they've implemented actually being able to play the trading card game here is really good as well, because it's just very basic, but it teaches you everything you need to know. And also, if you're just trying to like grind out things, like try to win those promo packs, like I said, you can build a deck that's really good and then just hit auto, and the game will play itself for you without you having to play, which is also very convenient if you've already gone through like some things and you're trying to grind out things. I like it. I think this is really good. It's really fun. I highly recommend trying it. And if you do try it, Mike, please do let me know, because I would absolutely like to add you on here.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look into it. I don't have too many games on my phone, so might not be a bad idea to try another one out.
And that's it. That's it for me. That's what I've been doing.
Okay. Yeah, I never really got into the card game. I don't know why.
It's fun.
Yeah. I like collectible card games. And I always really wanted to get into the Pokemon one. And I did like, I don't know, what little I played of the Game Boy one. I just never really got like really into it. I think some of it is just I know obviously digitally not so much an issue, but like the cost of entry, like for like the physical things, is kind of a barrier. Yeah, no, I'll have to look into it and see, because I've heard that aside from even you, I've heard the phone one is fantastic. So
it definitely is. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like I said, I downloaded it last night and I've been playing it since then. Like I was laying in bed playing it.
Yeah, it's always a good sign when you can't get out of bed. Just first thought in the morning or last thought at night kind of thing.
It was definitely a last thought at night for an hour and a half. It kept me awake.
Well, that's trouble then.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, ready to move on to news?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So I'll start with mine. It looks like it's going to be, at least I don't know, some interesting conversation there. So speaking of AI and video games, new article popped up. I think it was today. I think it was when I saw it. But apparently PlayStation's looking at automating video game localization using AI. So that's kind of where that is. I have thoughts on it.
Okay, what are your thoughts?
You have thoughts on it.
Yeah, I do have thoughts on it.
So this one, honestly, not a fan. So I think though, that said, I think there is likely some use for it. But I don't think, at least kind of the way the article wrote it, it's like, well, they're looking at almost a cost saving measure, because they're like, think of all the money we could save with localization. Sure, you probably could. But also on the flip side, like, you're going to lose a lot of character out of that localization. Like, I don't think it will be necessarily horrible. I think it will probably get the gist across. But I don't think it would be really like flavorful. Like for example, like with Nintendo stuff. Like a lot of their localization, like let's see, what would be a good game you could probably use it from? like something like maybe Animal Crossing. Like if you're going to do an
Mm,
AI localization, it would be fine. Like
okay.
the animals all say kind of generic things anyways, so like I don't think I would notice some of kind of the more like mindless kind of things that they say.
Yes.
Uh, but on the flip side, something like Mario and Luigi, like a game that can be
Hmm.
very tongue in cheek. Like I
Hmm.
feel like some of that kind of flavor would be lost if you don't have someone that's kind of trying to make sure that the context, especially for something like humor, something that the AI is not
Mm,
necessarily going to understand, it's going to
hmm.
have a harder time kind of drawing that over.
Can
Um,
I share my thoughts?
yeah, sure.
All localizers are bad. Period. There is no job currently where someone hates the people that they are doing their job for more than localizers, I think, right now. There are literally people that you can see online every single goddamn day that
Uh-huh.
are localizers for Atlas games, for
Mhm.
Sega games, for Nintendo games, for Sony games that literally say, I fuck up the translation on purpose because I want you to be angry. I don't want this information in the game. It does not appeal to me and my standards, so I take it out. And you know what? AI can't do that. AI is not going to do that. I actually think this is great. I actually think this is a fantastic thing because I think I would much rather have right now most localizers lose their jobs and be out on the street than continue doing the absolute piss poor job that they are doing on purpose and getting away with. That is where I stand.
I say I'm surprised that you're taking this stance, but I could also understand it from you as well. Um, I mean, I can't necessarily disagree. Like, I think you're right because I mean, definitely we've
Let me let
specifically
me
talked
show
about
you
this
like
stuff.
an example. Like look at
Hmm.
something like Unicorn Overlord, right?
Hmm.
Unicorn Overlord is a game that is a fantasy based game and everything, and you have these people speaking oldie English and using these like Shakespearean terms and everything. None
Yeah,
of that was ever in the fucking game. The localizers decided to do that.
yeah.
That's not the way the game was made. A lot
Hmm.
was lost in translation for the game because of localizers. And they did it on purpose. That's the kind of thing that would be removed if AI localization was a thing. Now, if we're getting into AI voice acting and yada 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 blah blah blah, then I have a stance where no, it's not. I'm not. No, no. But if you're
No,
going like
actually, I didn't even look at the article. It could have been the AI. It could have been voice acting. I assumed it
yes.
was
Yeah,
just
that's
text.
why I wanted. That's why I wanted to go further because if we're there's a way you can go too far. But if you're
Yeah.
doing something like translating, text, and the text is not even close to what the original actual content was. And that is happening so often right now that characters are having their entire characterization changed by localizers just because they didn't like it. And that really removes a lot from the original characters and the original artists that made those characters. And I think that's really unacceptable. And if you're going to have AI replace these people, right? And it's not on
Mhm.
the voice acting front, it's not on the acting front, it's just on the replacing the like text or whatever, with the like a more closely resembling thing explaining what a person's character is actually like instead of giving them some kind of fucking Reddit dribble bullshit where they talk in memes every 5 seconds, which is what happened with Euclidean Chronicles this year. Game completely fucking ruined by localization. There are other games that have been completely fucking ruined by localization using just, buzzword terms as well as like again, I like to call it like the Reddit or Marvel dialogue where they have to throw in a quip every 5 seconds and it makes the character like really campy, but that's their only personality trait. And then you look at the original game and its original translation and it was nothing like that. And just the localization person chose to make it like that because they have fucking Marvel brain rot and that they think everything has to be like Deadpool or like, Avengers or like something like that has to have a comedy moment to take out the drama, to take out this, that, and the other, and have a little nudge nudge, hint hint, wink wink at the camera sort of moment, but it has nothing to do with what actually happened in the game. When people do that shit to games, it really pisses me off, and it's happened so often nowadays that it is honestly infuriating.
But you think about it, like on the flip side, something like Shadows of the Damned,
Yep.
AI would probably localize that very plainly.
Yep.
Like, um,
But Shadows of the Dam also has voice acting. That's what I'm saying. If this isn't voice acting and this is something that's more text based, and there's an option where it's like I could choose the voice acting or I can just choose text,
but yeah,
and it would be good for something like JRPGs, for instance. That is the main thing I'm pointing out right here and right now. This would be good for something like JRPGs. Or it'd be good for something like a Japanese style game where they just have the Japanese dialogue speaking and you don't know the English words, and the AI translates the Japanese dialogue to the best of its ability, instead of having localization translate the Japanese dialogue to the worst of their ability on purpose.
Yeah, but you also have to remember too, because when you say like, well, it doesn't include voice acting, but this would include voice acting, not AI voice acting, but they probably would use the localized AI script for the voice actors.
Okay, and if that was done, the voice actors can still do things to make it their own, but they would have to follow the original script more closely, which I would be fine with. It's when you're changing the script up so much so that it's honestly like looks like a totally different game than the original. That's when I have a problem with it. And that's happening so often nowadays, and it ruins so many games just because they felt like it. I really do feel like localization, like people being replaced by AI, at least on that front, is better for the industry.
I think it depends on the game. I really think this one is going to be.
Yeah, and I do agree with you. I think it also does depend on the game as well. But I do think that there is clearly places where like people could look at it and be like, yeah, this would have been better if they just used AI localization.
Yeah, probably
instead.
The other thing is, well, I mean, think about it. Like, there are games too where you can think about it being like super mindless for the AI to do. Like, if you throw it on, say, like a Mario game, it'd be like, all right, well, we'll just fix this like general like menu text, and that would be kind of the extent of it, and that would be like brainless, and that makes sense. Like, that's sure. What was the other example I was just going to give though? Where did it go?
I don't know. I'm not in your head.
I know. What did you say right before I went into that example?
I was talking about JRPGs and talking about how things like Lydian Chronicles this year that released
I remember that
was completely ruined.
Literally right before
before this, it was talking about voice acting and how AI scripts can still be made its own by the voice actors. They would just need to follow more closely with the actual script instead of what the localizers fucked around with.
No, I think I had another good example for. I think what I was going for was I had another good example for a game that probably would do really well with AI. I don't remember what it was now.
Okay.
So, but yeah, like I said, I think it will depend on the game, and it will depend on kind of situation. Obviously, certain games are going to be better than other ones. I remember what the other thing I was going to say was.
Go for it.
Now I do. I think another thing actually this could probably benefit from really well would be, say like games from like older systems, especially that had like never been localized.
It's already being done actually. On the emulator scene right now, there are tools that people have used. Like there is a self-generating AI that changes Japanese text to English text on PS2 emulators and PS3 emulators that has been in the works for a little while now. It's being tested in a lot of them currently, and it does do pretty well. It did so well with one game that the people that had been working for years on a like English translation script was actually like, hey, the AI actually did a better job than we did. You don't need us anymore. Bye. And they just stopped the project.
Okay, so that's pretty good. Yeah, because I could see it really being like a handy thing with. I mean, I doubt Nintendo would ever do it.
Nintendo would never do it.
But I could see it being really useful for, say, something like, Fire Emblem on the Super Nintendo. You could localize it super easy and go from there.
And see, that's a good example right there. Fire Emblem localization has fucked up a lot of Fire Emblem characters, and they've like quite literally admitted to doing it on purpose. And a lot of Fire Emblem plots have been outright removed or completely changed around from the initial more weird or like things that aren't so okay. Like, for instance, there was a character that did something that was very bad to another character, potentially, and they just like made them goofy instead, and they cut out what they did, but they still had the same scene, and they just localized it and had them talking about some kind of pastries instead, when it was potentially a scene that was supposed to be about sexual assault.
Oh.
Like, that's a really weird way to localize that. That's a really shitty way to localize that. You're kind of making the person who potentially sexually assaulted someone in the original game out to just be goofy. Do you not see how that is a bad thing to do, Mr. Localizer? You fucking idiot. I mean, it's things like that that really make me angry. Because bad guys can't be bad guys. Let the bad guy be a bad guy. Don't try to make them goofy and stupid. Don't try to cut out something just because it's uncomfortable. And if you had AI, that shit wouldn't be. Like, they wouldn't become a goofy and stupid character who just had that one scene cut out. Maybe that scene still gets cut out, but then you'd still have the AI where it's like there's some kind of, there's a little subtlety right there where it's like, okay, this character has something up with them. They might be a little off, something, they might be not such a good person. But instead, the localizers didn't want that. And they just made them goofy and silly when, like, in the original like thing, they were a bad person, or they were a person who made a bad decision, and then they became a bad person. But that's lost in translations because the localizers didn't want that to happen. And I feel like if you had at least the AI script being done, that wouldn't get lost in translation. And maybe even if that one scene gets cut out, it still wouldn't make that character a goofy, "Whoa, yeah, I'm so wacky, let me speak in Reddit terms, hee hee." It wouldn't happen. And because AI wouldn't translate to something about fucking Dogecoin or some dumb shit, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I think it would still. I agree. It probably at least would probably maybe get cut instead of being like radically translated.
Exactly.
It's interesting. It will be interesting to see what it is, what ends up coming with it, if anything. I
guess
that's
my stance on AI. If it's beneficial to me, I don't mind. If it's not beneficial, I do mind. I mind AI when it does something like take away things from an actual artist. Case in point, recently, one of my favorite games, Killer 7, had an AI upscale update released, which upscaled the assets of Killer 7 using AI, which kind of muddied it and made it not look as good and abstract as it did before, because it cleaned it up because the AI wanted to do that, which kind of ruined it. That is a way that AI can ruin things from not understanding things.
Yeah.
That is a way that I'm very, very against AI. If you're doing something that is taken away from an actual artist, a person that creates something, that's bad. I don't believe localizers create things. I believe they do nothing but ruin things, and that we would be a lot better off if we took the original script, had it translated the way it is, and then let the actors and directors of the original game be like, this is the way things should be done. This is the way you can handle this character. This is the way you can do that. And an actor could present like, how about I do this kind of voice? Or how about I add this kind of thing here and here? And a back and forth between the two people that create said thing, instead of some dude that just wants to write a shitty fan fiction and ruin the original, concept of said game, of said artwork by doing so. I don't think localizers are good people. I think they are the most useless people in the entire industry. I think the same thing that can be done as a localizer could be done from the creative director as well as the actual actors that do the voices or that that sort of thing. I think localizers are useless.
Well, I definitely think
and as such, I really think getting rid of them is the best thing for the industry.
I mean, it's a very, very hot take. I definitely disagree with that. But as I said, I definitely could see some benefits coming
How
from
did you
it.
like those jelly donuts in the Pokemon anime?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Brock was like, I love jelly donuts, and then he fucking brings out onigiri. And like that was in the Pokemon anime for the longest time. They would have jelly donuts, and it was like a localization thing where they changed Japanese food to American food
Food.
because of localization reasons. Because they're like, well, we think that people will be too stupid to understand what this thing is, when it literally explains it in the original show, and you could be like, oh, here's a scene where they're like, oh, what's onigiri? Onigiri is blah, blah, blah. And then people learn about, a culture instead of fucking, being treated like bumbling idiots, which is how I
think
feel a lot of localizers treat people.
interestingly, I think if the anime had started like in this day and age, I bet they would have kept it. I think it was kind of more of a, if you remember, still back then, people were like, nobody understands Japan. Like that was kind of like the thinking at the time. Like
Well, it was
Japan
also,
too,
I think it was also 4Kids, and 4Kids is like really well known for having awful localization.
yes, that was still when it was like the 4Kids era.
Like I remember
Still.
their localization of One Piece, they had like a plunger instead of a gun. That's their way of censoring the show. So the guy's like, "I'll do it. I'll do it." And it's like he's holding a plunger to the guy's head. It's like, "All right. What am I supposed to why do I care?" you know?
All the bacteria. It's gonna kill you. So actually, I have one more news story. I forgot about it, and it's kind of more just like a comical one.
I mean, I have more news stories, but yeah, we kind of got stuck on this one for a little while, you know?
So this one seems right up your alley as well.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
This kid that got sued by Nintendo.
Oh my god, okay. Alright, I got thoughts on this, alright? Here's my thoughts. One, this kid is a fucking idiot, alright? Because there is a difference between being someone that just happens to be streaming a Nintendo game through an emulator and being someone that's literally saying, "Hey Nintendo, I stole your game. I'm gonna emulate it and stream it for people before it's released. You can't do shit to me." There's a very big difference between those two groups of people. And spoiler alert, this kid was in the second group. So, but there's also a thing here that needs to be like said.
Yeah.
Emulation is not theft, and it's not illegal. It's not. No matter how many times Nintendo tells you it is not illegal. In fact, here's something that Nintendo doesn't want you to know. I believe we've talked about this before. In their Nintendo Museum, all of their games are running on emulators.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, really, Nintendo's honestly never had a problem with emulation. If you think about it, like,
oh bullshit! What the fuck are you talking about?
Like if they're I mean, think about it. They've been doing emulating games since what? At least the Wii on their own platforms.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, it's I mean, obviously their issues really more about pirating, and that's kind of their problem with, if you look at kind of the actual like legal stuff, their complaint isn't about this guy using an emulator. Their complaint is about him pirating the games, telling people how to pirate the games,
how to
play the pirated games.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And then telling Nintendo, like, just try and stop me. It's like, I have thousands of these burners. You can't stop me. And it sounds like, too, they even went through their usual, like, cease and desist, like, DMCA stuff. And the guy was like, yeah, you can't stop me. I think I'm more impressed by the balls on this person than like the actual like event of what happened. Because it's like, you'll just look at Nintendo's history. Yeah, they'll sue you.
They can stop you. They can stop you. But I do also feel like their stance on emulation is stupid, because they do have a thing like a QA where they're like, "What's the problem with playing older games on the emulator? There's nothing wrong with emulating games." And then like their response is just, "The problem is it's illegal," which is not true. Like they are literally gaslighting people. It's not illegal to emulate games. If you
It's
have
not
the
illegal
original
to
game
emulate
and
games.
you dump the game, that is yours.
Okay,
You
but
can still emulate that.
but
Yeah,
that
I know
is
most people do not do that. I am well
I was
aware
gonna
of
say,
that.
yeah, that's
I'm
the big hurdle there.
well aware of that.
I
I
was
am well
like,
aware of that. But
I don't think I've ever met a person who has
you're
actually
correct.
dumped a game. Yes.
Well, I've met some people that have a modded Switch that have done it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
sure. I mean, I know those people exist,
yeah.
obviously.
hmm
But I'm just saying, like, in my experience, a lot of the people who are doing it have never owned said games, and
You're
that's like
correct. But
what
you
I'm
know
like.
what?
Mhm,
Here's the other thing, right?
mhm.
And I'm just gonna say this right now. If I want to play Bayou Billy on the NES, I don't want to pay $25 to Joe Schmo, where that money never goes to Nintendo at all, or the developers of Bayou Billy on the NES. They never see a cent of that. It's literally not hurting anyone. And they tried to say, "Oh, it's hurting us. It's illegal. You shouldn't do that." It is not hurting anyone because you know what? Me hunting down Bayou Billy from some garage sale or on eBay and paying $25 for it, and then hunting down an NES and paying $60, $80 for it, $90 for it, so that I can play it, that is legitimately hurting Nintendo. That is actually hurting Nintendo. Because
But
you're giving money to a third party and not them.
but I mean, realistically, though, Nintendo's not running around suing people who are pirating Bayou Billy. Like, you
True.
know, it's definitely at least. Like, and I know we talked about it last time. This subject had come up with this kind of
hmm
things, but
hmm
like Nintendo's kind of like
I was giving an example, by the
direction.
way, just like
Um,
a random example.
no, I know, and it is a good example, but I just say like in terms of like where Nintendo focuses themselves on, like
hmm
it's they really only tend to focus on A, the people who are like belligerent, and B, the stuff that's like current. Like they don't care, like they don't seem to go against like the people who are doing older stuff.
Incorrect.
Um,
I will say that right now. And 2024 taught us that we lost a lot of things from archive.org, Internet Archive. We lost a lot of things from there due to the hack, and also due to Nintendo sending out several cease and desist and DMCA's on hosting of old NES games, like any NES game, any Super Nintendo game, anything, not new current games, anything. We lost a emulation and ROM site that has been around for 15 plus years. That had pretty much their entire site pulled down by Nintendo, and then when it was put back up, they had most of their Nintendo games, be it literally like made by Nintendo or third party, taken off the site, and entire like repositories of ROMs from Game Boy Advance all the way back to NES completely removed from the site because of Nintendo. And I can tell you right now, I could have got Bayou Billy there. Can't
you could have
anymore.
got Bayou Billy, but on the flip side, though, Nintendo stuff is generally like accessible. Like they have a reason to
That's
at
why
least
I'm trying to
defend.
tell you.
Yeah.
It's not accessible anymore. There
Mhm.
were thousands and thousands of non-accessible NES games
Mhm.
on
But
that
I'm
site
talking about
that I could
Nintendo
play
stuff
with the click of a
specifically.
button.
Like they have more of a reason to be defending their property because they still
I think
actively use it.
Nintendo's done an awful job of actually letting people play many of their properties. Like, okay, let me just give a few examples
Okay.
if I can.
Yeah.
Before today, well, not today, before this year. Sorry, I meant to say before this year, 2024.
hmm
The ability to play Minish Cap. The last time we got to do that was on the Wii. Wasn't even on the Wii U.
It wasn't. Well, wait, are you sure?
I'm fairly sure. I will double check.
And also, too, just I guess side note, like Minish Cap was something they gave to people on the 3DS, the ambassadors.
Correct,
Not
but
that not that applies
that
to a
was
large amount of people, but
yeah, that was a very small amount of people. Let me see if it was on Wii U. I don't
I don't think they had Game Boy on the Wii, so I think it was just Wii U. if it was there, and I would be surprised if it wasn't. Yeah, this there's someone on Reddit that says,
Okay,
right there.
2014. So it took 10 years to be able to play Minish Cap legally again.
What do you mean? Like, I guess that's what I'm confused about.
Okay, so you just said Nintendo does a pretty good job of having their
about
games
Minish
up.
Cap specifically. So
you were right about Wii U. I'm going ahead
Yeah.
and conceding that fact. I got Wii and Wii U confused. My bad.
Okay.
Sorry about that. But it released May 27th, 2014 on the Wii U. Let's take into I was taking the 10 years from that, but when was the Wii U shop discontinued?
When was it? Last year?
No longer able to make purchases. So could you purchase games still like the Game Boy Advance games up until last year? Question mark. Also, who fucking was? I will also say that. Who fucking was, other than Gerard the charity fraudist, who ended up buying every single 3DS and Wii U game, which probably used some of his charity fraud money to do so.
But what was I going to say?
People moved on from the Wii U. People moved on from the Wii U. They sold their Wii U's. It was gone. No one was legitimately going out and buying a Wii U to play Minish Cap legally. No one was doing that. So if you take that into account, there was many, many years where you could not, on current consoles, play Minish Cap. There is still, right now, at this moment in time, not a way to play Wind Waker on current consoles. Just saying. I'm just saying.
But I guess so. So question, like, where do you like draw the line? Because it's like well, if you look at you could play Wind Waker on the previous console.
If you're saying the Wii U, I will say I've drawn the line at the Switch, because we are 5 years into this console's lifespan. Actually, way more than 5 years. Sorry, that's the PlayStation. Like 7, that's 5 years. We're like 7, 8 years into this console's lifespan, right? This is their current console, and 8 years later, we still do not have Wind Waker HD. We don't even have Wind Waker SD on the Wii U. But you legally cannot play Wind Waker, and a copy of Wind Waker goes for $110. That's unacceptable. I'm not going to pay a fucking $110, and I'm not also going to go buy a Wii U for fucking $120 and then also buy Wind Waker HD for another $50. I'm not going to do that because it's stupid and fucking asinine.
I get that, but
if I cannot play the game on your current console, your free game. It's simple as that.
That's literally what it is. Like, if it is not available on the current console, it's free game.
And I don't mean at the launch of the current console, obviously. I made a very distinct point that we're 8 years in. By now, it should be here. It should be playable. It should be a thing when it's one of your first party titles that is freely available for other people to purchase and play. That is my point. I'm surprised it took this long for Xenoblade Chronicles X to get here, which is going to be 2025, but fine. If your game is not available on your current console, that is a problem. That is when I don't give a shit if someone is pirating your game, so to speak. And if they're pirating the GameCube version, that's not going to be the version that's on the fucking console. And there are very big differences between the HD and the GameCube version, and some people prefer the GameCube version.
Yeah.
That's another thing to point out right there. If people were pirating the Wii U version, then maybe it's a little bit like, we can have like a little gray area there, whatever, fuck it, who cares? But if they're pirating the GameCube version, who fucking cares? There's no point to it. There's no point to be like, take it down. Who gives a shit? There's literally no point to it. You're not making money from your GameCube. You're not reselling it to me. Just get over yourself. I could literally pirate PlayStation 3 games right now. I could pirate goddamn PS4 games right now. I could literally play Bloodborne right now on my fucking PC, and it'll look miles better than the original PS4 version. Sony's not going after them yet, but currently they're not going after people that are doing that. And Sony, I think, is a really good example. Sony's a piece of shit. Like, simple as that.
But at the same time,
they're not treating this the same way that Nintendo is really telling. And then on top of that, so many things get lost to time because of this sort of thing that Nintendo's going on about, because of what Nintendo's wanting to do. For example, again, it had been a really long time since anyone got to play fucking GoldenEye until last year. And then we got the shittiest port ever for it. It was so bad.
Why was it bad?
Okay. First of all, I'm going to point out that I have played the Microsoft version and not the Nintendo version. I've heard the Nintendo version is way better.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, like, it took, 20 years? 25 years to be able to play GoldenEye again? Imagine if Nintendo was able to sit on a game for 25 years and you could do nothing about it. You could not play it again because they've chosen to not let you play it again until they're ready. That's stupid.
But at the same time, though, it's like, if you...
Did you say they've done that? Did you say that?
Yeah, I mean, they've sat on games for a long time.
With what? With what?
Star Fox 2.
I was able to play Star Fox 2 literally before I even knew that it was not a game that released.
Exactly, but they literally sat on that for at least 20 years. At least.
They did. You're right. But I also played it at least 10 years before they released it.
But I don't know. I think believing that a platform holder has an obligation to have every past game like always available at any time.
I don't believe they have an obligation to. But I also don't believe they have a right to not let people get play things when they are not currently selling them.
But it's not like they're going after, say, like individual users either. Like you said, if someone wants to go through the old-fashioned route and like can get a backup copy and do it the old, nothing's stopping them from doing that.
Actually, yeah, there is something stopping them. It's called fucking inflation and current market values on retro games. Retro games, especially Nintendo games, are through the fucking roof.
Well, buy it, back it up, and then play it and sell it again. Then you'll probably make more money that way. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I know you are. But you know how angry this is making me because
I know you're getting very angry. But I still think though, just to be like an obligation to have like Wind Waker on the systems, a bit extreme. Yeah.
I want to give you one more example, right?
Mm-hmm.
We live in a time where people cannot experience one of the best horror games ever made, and that is ridiculous.
Yeah. And it is frustrating, but that
do you even know what I'm talking about?
I'm guessing Eternal Darkness is probably where you're going for.
Nope, I'm going with PT. It was ripped off of It was ripped off of the stores. Even if you own it, you can't re-download it.
Games of all time is
it is one of the best horror games ever made. It is absolutely.
It was a fun demo.
It is,
but like that was not calling that a horror game is so disingenuous.
Did you ever even play PT?
Yes, multiple times. And calling that a horror game is very disingenuous. Like the game takes like 30 minutes to go through. Like even calling it a game is blasphemy.
There are horror games that are like 20 minutes. There are literally horror games, indie games, and other things that are like 20 minutes.
Okay,
they're still games.
And this was not a game. It was not a game. Nobody's ever called it a game. Like it's a demo for what Kojima wanted to do with Silent Hill. But it's not calling that a fully realized game. It's like, you walk down hallways. That's literally all you do. And then there's a scary bathroom, and then that's the end.
Do you have any idea how many motherfucking games took the idea of PT from PT and tried to replicate it and failed miserably, and the genre that was created because PT existed? If something can affect the medium that hard that you get things like Resident Evil 7 in first person, Resident Evil in a creepy house with creepy people following you, done entirely in first person, or other several games that have literally copied the same exact formula, especially in the indie scene, including ones that were just done by like student projects and stuff, because it affected the medium of the horror game genre that much. I think you are vastly underselling how important PT was to the horror game medium as a whole.
It wasn't important, just said it wasn't a game. That's really...
I mean, it's okay to be incorrect, but that's fine.
That is one glorified tech demo, and calling it the greatest horror game of all time.
I said one of the greatest horror games of all time,
Sorry.
and it is.
Sorry. Calling it one of the greatest horror games of all
It
time.
is.
I still find that very disingenuous.
It is.
I like so strongly disagree with that statement.
I firmly believe that since PT has released, we have not had a horror experience that comes close to it.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with that. Like,
okay, then how can it not be one of the best of all time? If nothing has stood up to it since it released,
experience without being a good game. Like those are very different things.
So
like, that would be like being I
can't
even think of an example right now. We could have played. There's definitely been games where like the demo far outshines the actual game, and like that's really like this is a great demo. This is a great, obviously, experience for what it was. Revolutionized the genre. I don't disagree with that either. But calling it one of the, like I said, this is not a game. This is a hallway, just walk without anything.
I really do feel like you don't remember anything from PT because of the way you're talking about it at all. But that's okay.
That's fine. That was my takeaway. I played it multiple times. Like that's my nostalgia glasses for it. Like at this point, like that's where it rests. Like I'm sure there was some other stuff in there that was not important enough to remember.
I completely disagree. I cannot believe the dog shit opinion you have right now of this.
I can't believe your dog shit opinion of the game. Like I think it's like
look, you called the game
overrated.
Oh, thanks for proving my point, dumbass.
Extremely overrating it.
I cannot believe I'm hearing this right now.
PT is something that's important, but it's not great.
You are fucking tripping. You are actually stupid. I'm sorry. I'm getting even more heated than the AI and the fucking emulation conversation right now over this one. Saying PT is not great is the biggest cope I have ever heard in a very long time.
Well, you could think whatever you want. It's my opinion, and like it is a valid opinion. So, like I don't know what
some opinions are objectively wrong, and I think this is one of them. But I'll let you have it.
Listen, this is objectively not a game. Like, so I don't even know why.
But you've called it a game 3 times now. So I just want to point that out.
What I'm talking about, you know that.
So me saying that it's one of the best horror games of all time, one of, not the best, and me saying that it's a game because it's interactable, it's played with a controller, it was played on a PS4, and it was marketed as a playable experience, is
yes, okay.
Okay, what is a video game?
Okay, we're not playing this game.
I'm just saying, man, you are so far gone on this one. I don't think anyone would agree with you on this opinion if you were to ask people.
Literally what you're describing, if I put on a VR headset and went into Google Maps, you would consider that a game.
No.
Yes.
No, because Google Maps is not a tailored experience
that
you interact with.
Brad. Yes, you do. You can walk down the streets. You can go left and right. Oh, and you could even imagine games if you want to. Like, oh, let's see if we can figure out what my GPS
really think
PT
was just a game about walking down a hallway? Is that really all you remember about it?
I think it was an experience about walking down a hallway with some horror elements to it.
You are so wrong. It isn't even funny. Do you not even remember talking into the microphone or having to solve the multiple puzzles to be able to stop the loop or anything like that? Do you not remember the time puzzle where you had to get the loop to the exact right time to be able to actually continue on to the next part of it? Do you not remember the literal conversations where they gave you the hints at it that were being told to you over the radio as you were walking down this hallway? Do you not remember the puzzle piece that you had to find hidden in the actual menu, or the fact that you had to say the name of the baby and hear it cry 3 times in order to actually be able to continue into the ending of the fucking game? Do you not remember the amount of RNG and other elements in the game that would cause it to have multiple different experiences for different people based on how they actually interacted with the objects while walking around and looking at them? Do you not remember any of this?
I I vaguely remember some of it. I also remember some of the things you're getting like really worked up about. A lot of people didn't do because the game just kind of picked up background noise and just was like, okay, close enough.
And
Like,
a lot of people also never saw the ending because it didn't pick up anything that they were doing
and
because
that's
they
fine.
had their
But that's
microphone on
also,
mute.
but that's also part of an experience. That's kind of exactly what it is. People
Yeah,
experience
I
things
know. And
differently.
after this, I'm going to experience playing Vampire Survivors. And right now, I'm currently experiencing Pokemon TCG Pocket.
Anyways, what other news did you have?
Fuck you. No, I'm just kidding. The other news I had was that Stellar Blade will be coming to PC in 2025, as announced by Shift Up today.
Very nice. Are they making
Which,
any changes to it or any like upgrades or anything?
not that has been announced. However, I mean, there was also a DLC recently announced coming very, very soon, which is Stellar Blade crossed Nier Automata with a bunch of crossover elements between characters and this, that, and the other. That's a DLC coming out next week, I believe, and I think that is supposed to be included in the PC version when it releases in 2025.
What was I going to say? Apparently, there's a rumor that Sony's going to have a state of play on the 3rd as well.
December 3rd. Yeah, I saw that because
Or-
apparently it was in like one of their recent videos or something.
Yeah, I think if I remember too, I think that also correlates with an important anniversary for them, like around. I think it was supposed to be what, a 30th anniversary PlayStation thing. Is what they had said. So hopefully that will result in something interesting. I don't know. I don't ever know with state of plays what you're gonna get. So, all right. What else?
I don't think I have anything else. I'm still just like I'm flabbergasted at the fucking amount of shit opinions you've had today.
Wow. We're gonna always disagree on some things. It's always gonna happen. So, like I said, I don't think PT is bad. I think it's just ludicrous calling it one of the best horror games of all time.
It is one of the best horror games of all time.
Listen, I mean, I think it was very creative, like, and definitely genre changing. But yeah, no, I just disagree really with like game part. So
Okay,
anyways,
so if it's horror elements, right? If it's horror elements, right?
Yeah.
And it's interactable, and you say it's creative, and you say it's genre changing, right? You say all these things.
Yeah.
Right? Then how can it not be one of the best? Let's even take the word game out of this subject, right? Let's take the word game out of the subject, right? Let's say one of the best interactable horror experiences of all time. If that was stated, would you then agree?
Maybe. Not quite sure.
You can't give this one to me no matter what.
I think that if you said it like that, though, I would not be as inherently like against it if you're as opposed to calling it a game.
Playing it on a PlayStation 4. I used a PS4 controller. I literally experienced a gameplay elements in a game on a game system with a game controller. It's a fucking game.
I did the same thing with Google Maps on the Wii U. Does that mean that's a game?
You just don't get it.
Yeah, no. I could hold that controller in my hand and turn around in the room and see a 360-degree view of different cities. I really just don't. Like I said, there's definitely.
You're comparing PP to Google Maps, you fucking troglodyte.
I totally understand, but really, aside from the horror elements, how are they different?
The puzzle elements, the interactability.
It's still interactive in the same degree.
The
like,
art.
When you walk down the streets, the art. There's some pretty good graffiti if you walk around the right cities.
I knew you were going to say that. I literally was about to say, and don't say anything about the damn graffiti. I was literally going to say that. I'm not even mad because like I knew you were going to go there. It's like. Like I saw like this joke recently, and it was like, "Oh, really? You like JRPGs? Name 5 final bosses." And the next comment just says, "God."
Probably could do it 5 different times. It just be right every time.
I said, "You know what? That's on me. I made that too easy."
Anyways, You're ready to wrap things up?
Yeah, I think I am. But honestly, right? Just, I want the listeners to know I don't hate you, Mike. Even if you have shit opinion,
I
and we
know,
can just sit
Brandon.
here and laugh at each other. It's totally fine. I'm not gonna, and I'm not. I'm
Exactly.
giving you shit because it's fun to do so, and
Mhm.
also because I do feel very strongly about this, but I'm not legitimately angry at you.
No, I know. You know how it is. We have these discussions, and we speak our piece, and we still come back every week.
Honestly, I felt like I was being a little too hard on you. I called you a fucking troglodyte. I think that is a crazy insult to pull out of a hat.
Oh, Georgia, you and your insults. You're wackier than a Waffle House.
Nothing is wackier than a Waffle House, good
I know
sir.
it's a good thing you didn't call me that. I would have thrown down material there. And-
Oh my god. This has been a fantastic episode. I've had so much fun this episode.
yeah, that's what this is. We had a lot of fun to talk about. Um, all right, let's wrap things up. Thank you everyone for listening to us tonight. Don't forget you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find all of our episodes on game-crunch.com. And if you want to reach out to us, you can send us an email at gamecrunchcast@gmail.com. Brandon,
Hello.
any final thoughts?
I think I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it. My name is Mike Anastasia. You can find me online. I'm Clash of Penguin there or on your favorite gaming console. And until next week, game on.
Game on.
In a land called Game Crunch where pixels gleam, magic realms and heroes in a dream. Every level new adventure calls. In this world, no one ever falls. Monsters lurking, treasures to find, puzzle pieces fitting in your mind. Quests to conquer, legends to write, every turn a dazzling light. Game Crunch, game on, play all night. In this realm everything feels right. Joysticks acting, hearts on a flight. Game Crunch, game on under moonlight. From the forest to the castle gates, every corner a new twist awaits. Dragons soaring, skies of cerulean, villains' plots to be undone. Battle with power-ups in your hand, dance to beats only you command. Champions rise under your command, lost in gameplay in this land. Friends together in this digital world, every move magic unfurled. Trophy stacking, every gold star, reaching far, no dreams too far. Game Crunch, game on, play all night. In this realm everything feels right. Joysticks acting, hearts on a flight. Game Crunch, game on under moonlight.
Oh, that reminds me. The other thing I was going to say too, which I kind of was thinking about on the way home. We're like wicked close to episode 600. Like we're going to
Oh
hit
my
it next
god.
month. So we'll have to figure out something for that too. We have about 5 episodes left, so it should be about this time next month. Actually, if I did the math right, I think it was the week before Christmas. Not the week of Christmas, like the week before was when episode 600 was. So
600 is a pretty big milestone.
yeah, it is.
Is there anything in particular that you'd want to talk about during it?
I don't know. That's kind of why I was thinking that.
Have we ever done this and talked about literally our favorite games of all time? Like all of them? Like a list of all of them?
No, I don't think so. We could look at
I think
something like
I
that.
think that would be really good.
Well, like
There's
a top 10 list of like favorite games of all
favorite
time.
games of all time. Like we just share them with each other, and if we haven't played them, obviously, then like we can talk. You can like talk to the other person about it and tell them your reasons why. And if you have, then you and the other person can have like a discussion about
Okay.
the game in question.
That sounds-
I have quite a few games that would make that list, but yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I think it's going to be difficult, but I think it's a great idea. Difficult for me just to think of a list. That's what I'm trying to say. I think it's a great idea, though. We'll have to see. We'll have to let Nick know too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.